Hello, I'm just going to do a quick little update on the shed layout here with what I've been working on the past few days, which is to do with this control panel here. So on eBay you can get these, which are the street lamps with lights in them. And we also had a few larger LEDs left over from when I was doing some electronics projects, so I put them in the buildings as well. So laser cut out this control panel here with a couple of micro switches and done even more crazy wiring underneath this layout, which I need to tidy up or the wires are going to get broken. Not quite as crazy as the wiring for the point motors, but it's getting there. And that means when you flip the control panels you have lamps. So I'll just turn the lights off in the shed. As you can see, it's gone very dark. If I switch these here, you can see the station buildings. So there's an LED in this one here, in that station over there, in the signal box, in that station building over there, and in the signal box over there. Now it has exposed a little issue where, as you can see, the light is coming through the roof. So at some point I'm going to have to put a false ceiling in there or paint the roofs black. You can just see the light seeping out. It's not too bad, but it is visible. So the way I did the buildings, if I just turn the lights back on, was because these are stuck down pretty well, I actually drilled the holes up from the bottom into the buildings to put the LEDs in. For the street lamps on the platforms, I drilled down from the top, fished the wires through and got them back out on the underside. So turning the lights off again, if we put the station platform lights on, you can see they are very bright indeed. They are cool white, but that is what we had. But they do give off quite a nice amount of light. You can see there my 08 shunter, which I've put a custom directional light in, which looks very nice. I am also going to do a video at some point soon on fitting directional lights to locos for literally pennies, as well as fitting coaches in lights. Fitting lights in coaches, which is a little bit more expensive because you have to purchase the wheels that are electrically conductive, so the metal wheels rather than plastic wheels. But in terms of locos, it's very easy. You just have to put an LED in there, a red and a white in each end, wired correctly, and it will give you directional lights. And you can pick up the LEDs on eBay for just a couple of pennies each, as long as you're buying a large quantity. So it's definitely a project to do a few locos at once, which I'll be going through. The other thing I wanted to explain, on our last video we showed this control panel and how you just press one button to change all the points to get to your specific lane, and a lot of people asked, how does this messy jumble of wires do that? So in a second I'm going to draw up some diagrams and explain how it all works. I'm just going to show one more time it in operation. So we have this loco coming into lane 2 here. I'll just slow that down. And then if I wanted to run the 47 there in lane 3, I'd push the lane 3 button, which, as you can see, changes the points at that end and that end simultaneously with one button, and then we can run the loco out. So the only caveat with it at the moment is that you've got to go in order. So if you want to run lane 1, it's lane 1. If you want to run lane 2, it's lane 2. But if you want to run lane 3, you have to press 2 and 3. And if you want to run lane 4, you have to press 2 and 3 and 4, unless you've just come from lane 3, which is a little bit confusing, but I am going to try and sort that out. So as long as you're going in order, it's not a problem. But even still, if you're not going in order, it is so much easier to just go doot 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 than have to switch 6 different flicky switches in the right direction. So if I just stop this loco as it comes in here, I'll just show you. If I reset all, go to lane 1, so you can see when lane 1's pressed, then I'll try to get a good angle here, then lane 1 is open over there, that point is going straight. If I press lane 2, you see that that point closes to allow it to go in the curve, and you saw this point opened. And then if I press lane 3, you see the same thing happen again, where that one allows it to go straight, and this one opens up the curve. And then if I press lane 4, it's the easiest one, it just moves the last point there. So I'm going to draw up a diagram now and explain how that works as simple as I can. So the first step is to look at a point motor and understand how it is wired. So no matter what the point motor is, there'll always be 3 wires coming off of it. 2 of them might be the same color, they might all be different colors. One of them will be your common negative, so that's usually the black, and then you'll have 2 other wires that are your left and right. So, for example, in this case, if I were to apply my voltage to the left wire here, then it would send the point motor left. If I were to apply the voltage the other way around and put the positive on the green wire, it would pull the motor right. And that is really how simple point motors are in their basic terms. So let's have a look at applying multiple point motors at the same time and how do we control them all. So let's have a look at this, which would be a 2-lane fiddle yard. So we have a point motor each end, we have a blue wire and a red wire in this case. Again, the color doesn't really matter. So this is where it might get a little bit confusing, but if you power the blue wire, that would not open lane 1, that would open lane 2. Powering the blue wire would pull the point this way, which means it would open the curve. If you powered the red wire, it would pull the point this way, which would close the curve and open the straight. So taking a look at that, if you wanted to open lane 1 with a single push button, then you would need to connect your positive wire to the push button, and then the other wires would need to be connected to your 2 red points on both points. That way, when you push the button for lane 1, it would power both of the red wires on these point motors, pulling both of the points this way, opening lane 1. If you want to use lane 2, you would wire both your blue wires onto the push button so that when you push the button, it pulls both the points this way so that the curve is open and lane 2 becomes the active track. So if we were to throw a third lane in here, you can see now we've got 4 different colors. We have a left and a left and a right for each set of points. So this would once again be very similar. Lane 1 remains, you want to pull the points this way so you can go straight. Lane 2, again, you want to pull the point up so that it opens the curve. But then when you get to here, you also want to pull this point down to open lane 2. So you want to trigger the blue and the black wires to give you a path like that. For lane 3, you then want to trigger the green wire to pull it this way. So this is where the issue with this method comes, is that obviously ideally for lane 3, what you want to say is you want the blue to be open and then you want the green to be open to pull both these points up. However, because in lane 2 here, you've already pulled the blue up, if you were to connect the blue and green here to lane 3, but via this switch blue is already connected to black, you'd have a ginormous short, which wouldn't be good. So I'm looking at seeing if there's a way around that with diodes. I don't really want to get involved with microcontrollers and Arduino because I'm trying to keep this as simple as I can. So the simple way around that for now is that you have to go in order. If you want to use lane 1, that's fine. If you want to use lane 2, that's fine. If you want to use lane 3, then you have to have pressed lane 2 before it in order to open up this point on lane 1 here to get the tracks going this way. So using this method, you can carry on indefinitely and just keep adding lanes and lanes and lanes and lanes, and it works with push buttons as long as you are going sequentially. So I hope that is easy enough to understand. It's a little bit complicated, but I think a diagram is the best way of showing it. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions about this, I can do a follow-up video dedicated solely on this if you are still confused. So I will see you in the next video where hopefully I'm going to be fitting directional lights into locos and also coach lighting.